Hi, guys. I'm Jim. You probably heard and even seen me on the Rush Fans Roundtables. We're going to go to the Hold Your Fire album, which came out during my third year of college. And just like with any other Rush album, I listened to it non-stop. I was always drawn to the music, and especially to Neil's drummer, being a drummer myself. But on this album, the songwriting and the lyrics really drew me in. My reflection is on the third track, Open Secrets. Christopher McDonald in Rush, Rock Music, and the Middle Class says, Open Secrets describes the inwardness and isolation that results from hiding feelings and keeping private secrets from one's intimate circle. I have also read that this song came out of a conversation between Neil and Geddy about people they knew and how they went through life without properly addressing problems that were affecting them. All right, so I'm bringing this up because this leads perfectly to my reflection. When I was younger, I did this a whole lot more. What stands out the most to me and what I think about the most when I hear this song, even today, was dating in college. When I would get into an argument with a girl I was dating, I would just stare off into space. I wouldn't look at her. I wouldn't really even talk. I wouldn't say anything. I kept everything inside. I had all these thoughts floating through my head, but nothing ever came out. I just didn't say things, but I probably should have. And I also kind of felt like if I said something, it would be taken out of context or interpreted a way that wasn't intended. So just because of all that, I just stayed quiet. I just kind of, clammed up. And I kind of was known for that kind of person who would clam up. And I did this for years and years and years. Some of the lyrics that really stand out to me, that kind of make me, think about that time was, I was looking out the window. I should have looked at your face instead. And that lyric just resonates like big time. Like every time I hear that, I'm like, oh, I could just pinpoint the exact times where that really happened. Another lyric was, I never meant what you're thinking. That's not what I meant at all. And that's happened as well. But when I listened to the song, even back then, so like in the later part of 1987 and early 1988, I would think about this. And today, about 35 years after the album came out, I still think about that. And I'm like, if I could just go back and talk some sense into my 20-year-old self. But I guess that is not meant to be. But that's kind of what I think about sort of my reflection on Open Secrets. So I hope you enjoyed listening to my reflection and a little bit of my personal experience related to this wonderful song. And I want to leave with another lyric from Open Secrets that I find really, really powerful. Closed for my protection, open to your scorn. Between these two directions, my heart is sometimes torn. And I just think that is an amazing lyric. This is a fantastic song from a fantastic album. And if you haven't heard it in a while, check it out again. Y'all take it easy.
When the Roll the Bones album came out, and a lot of these songs, because of the theme of chance, it really kind of spoke to me in a lot of ways, because at that time, like I was just starting college, and I had, it seemed like everybody around me had a really good idea of what they wanted to study and what they wanted to do after college with the rest of their lives, it seemed like. And I didn't have that. I was not sure, so I started college. I was like in my first year, whatever, and it was not going well. And then, and Roll the Bones came out, and I started, the song Bravado spoke to me, because it was like, okay, it's okay to not know. And it's, the whole theme of chance, like it's okay just to try something. And, a lot of the lyrics in the song, like it's okay if you fail, like I was thinking, okay, I have to take these classes and then decide, what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. Like when I was like 19 years old, and I'm like, I didn't, the idea of like changing course later, it didn't occur to me. And not anything that I knew about, but, from the kind of the lyrics of the song, like you try things, and if it works, great. If you don't, if victory is lost, if you fly too close to the sun, all the parts of the lyrics, that's okay. And you could just pick yourself up and you start over again. And so that kind of theme or that idea like really stuck with me. And then throughout, kind of the rest of my life until now, like if I ever go through a kind of a rough patch, everybody's got their group of Rush songs that they turn to, whatever. And Bravado is one of those, because you go, okay, the part, we will pay the price, but we will not count the cost. And that was like, okay, sometimes you just have to pay the price. You have to do the work and go through the struggle of whatever it is. And you don't, and either it works or it doesn't, but you don't think about that later. And so it really helped me through a lot of different things. And now, like, it's funny, so I'm a runner, I'm a trail runner. And there's 2 races that I run every year. One's in May and one's in June. And so that means I have to start training, because these are ultra marathons. So I have to start training in like December. Now I live in Wisconsin. So I have to be out running on the trail in the winter when it's, 20 degrees, 10 degrees out, and there's snow. And it's horrible. It's awful. And it hurts. But that's paying the price so that when I get to race day, I'm ready. And even just yesterday, it's funny, I was out running, and it had been a little bit warmer here. It was in the 40s, so some of the snow was melted. And I thought, okay, this will be a little bit easier. But it turned out that overnight, everything froze. So the whole trail was like a sheet of ice, and it was slippery. So I'm out there, and I'm actually listening to Roll the Bones, to get ready for this, and I'm slipping around, and I, fell down a couple of times. One time I was going up a hill, fell down, slipped and fell, and slid back down the hill. And it's like, this is horrible. I hate this. And then it started to warm up a little bit, and then it started to rain. So then it's, it's slippery, it's cold, and it's wet. And like, this is terrible, but, okay, but this is paying the price. This is, doing the work. And then, an hour later, it stopped raining. It warmed up a little bit more. The sun came out, and I'm like in an open prairie running in the sun for the first time since October, November. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have pushed through, to continue to do the work. So that, it was that kind, and that's a kind of a small thing, but, it's like pushing through the hard parts to get to the end. And then when I get to, race day or whatever it is, you get to the thing that you're trying to accomplish, and you don't go, oh, this is great that I finally accomplished that. But man, I wasted every Saturday all winter long running on these snowy trails. You know what? You don't, that's, not counting the cost. And so that's kind of my interpretation of the song. And that's how it kind of continues to speak to me.
This is the Rush Discuss, where the discuss is Rush. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Rush Discuss here in our reflective bracket. First of all, a big thank you to Jim and Dennis for providing those reflections on today's pairing songs, Bravado and Open Secrets. Some great stories there. But now to the hard part of actually deciding between these two songs.
Yeah.
It's already in this bracket, we've had some pretty interesting discussions and pretty difficult decisions, but I feel like this one's going to be really tough.
I think it's going to be tough as well. However, I think it'll be more tough for you because I know that one of these songs means a whole lot to you as well as the other one. And I like both of them. But for me, one of these is more meaningful to me than the other, even though I do love both of them, like for different reasons. So It'll be interesting. I think I already know what you're going to choose, but we will see.
Well, then you're one step ahead of me.
I'm just kidding. I don't know. All right. Shall we just dive in?
Yeah, it seems like diving in will be the only way we can start to approach this. So
Okay.
starting with Open Secrets, here is the intro.
First thoughts.
Tasty.
Tasty. Oh, interesting. Why?
It's just such an interesting bass line
It is.
from Getty. And I've said it before, and I will always say it, that this album, I think, is slept on too much in the bass world.
Specifically in the bass world. That's interesting.
It's such an excellent bass album. Like, Getty shows you just about everything a bass can do. He has just about every single line is so melodic. It serves the song so well. It's mixed just right up there in your face. And this song's no different. It just pulls you right in right away. It becomes its own character in this song.
It is a nice little motif, I guess you could say, of the little do-do-do-do-do. And it sounds really hard to play. I don't play electric bass, but it as a string player, I guess, with that uses my fingers in similar ways. It seems difficult on an instrument that's so low because it could get muddy really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it like almost sounds muddy on purpose, like in a good way, not in a bad way, like more of like a blending of the notes together feeling, which I think is what works. But I can see if you like were going to try to play it on the bass, that it could just like be like muddled mess.
Well, I think such a good example of that, because I've tried to play this one before, and because most of this album I've attempted to learn on bass, and there have been others that I've done really well at, and then this one was one that I just could never pull off.
This track,
yeah, because it's got the fast do 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 do.
Nice,
but the tough thing is you can hit those notes, but the way he articulates them is where it gets really difficult, and especially the little bends that make it sound like he's just chocolatey gliding through the notes instead of being just precise on the notes. And he gives this space that with such a quick riff you don't expect, but just those subtle articulations between notes, he creates this space that pulls you in. And I think both of these songs do such a good job at creating an atmosphere and just pulling you into the world of the song. And to me, these are both armchair songs in the sense that it forces you to sit in your armchair and just listen and just experience the world of the song.
Yeah, I really like that you brought up about the bass, because I hadn't thought about it. When I think of Hold Your Fire, I don't necessarily remember that it's so good on the bass, but then you're like, well, yeah, because then you think about, of course, like the pinnacle moment in Time Stands Still of that bass fill. If you go back and listen to that episode, we like lose our minds because it's like one of our favorite Rush moments ever. And yeah, this track as well, I really enjoy the bass line. And to change gears a little bit to the content of this song, man, it's good. It is something that so many people struggle with, to come face to face with what they're feeling and processing that and healing from it and keeping things inside. The things that we're concealing will never let us grow. Time will do its healing. You've got to let it go. Like, that's so hard to do. And a lot of adults struggle with that.
Yeah. Well, I think it starts from when we're little, because like it says earlier in the chorus, some of them burned on our ceilings.
Right.
Some of them learned as a child in the context of that we all have these feelings. Yeah. And I mean, so much of our emotional maturity and our emotional growth is shaped by the way that our parents taught us emotional maturity. And a lot of us didn't have emotionally mature parents because it's very difficult to be emotionally mature when there's so many different life changes and you're dealing with having your world completely changed by children. So it's, a lot of people blame their parents. Like, I can't believe I had such horrible parents, and you're the reason why I'm this way. It's like, yes, there is a lot to saying that your parents are the reason you are the way you are, but that doesn't negate your own personal responsibility to try to learn how to be emotionally mature. And I know I'm definitely still learning how to deal with things.
And it's difficult if, there's so many factors that go into this conversation that we could dig deeply into, like socioeconomic, like all of that, because some people don't even realize that they have to be working on this thing. But yeah, like you could go very deep, but all that to say, like, this song is very human. And I think one of my favorite parts as well is the very it's towards the end. Just what he repeats, but there's one thing you could do. You could try to understand me, I could try to understand you. You could try to understand me, I could try to understand you. I think also that is hugely human. Because a lot of the times, going back to, say somebody is emotionally immature and they may have these actions that you're like, why would you do X, Y, Z? And so then these lyrics bring it to, you could try to understand, try to figure out, well, why are they doing this? What do I need to understand? And then the same can be allotted to us of when we're doing something, like try to understand where I'm coming from. And so I think that that's just something that Neil is really good at doing, is being just realistic and very, like, he has a great perspective of the world as a whole.
Yeah, which to back up from the part that you shared where he sets it up, he says, I find no absolution in my rational point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe some things are instinctive. And then the lead in, but there's one thing you could do. Yeah. And I think that's the crux of it, that it's like, we can have a perfectly logical breakdown understanding, like textbook, oh, this is why these things are happening, and just like go through all the points. This and this happened in your life, which led to this, which led to this. And it's like, but that doesn't get to what the point of human relationships are about. We aren't here to just rationally understand someone in the sense of we can chart their path on a graph, and we can, objectively know why it is they are the way they are, but we can actively try to understand them from a human perspective and try to put ourselves in their position, try to think about what it would be like if we had those same things.
Right.
And that's what creates connection. And then another part that I love is earlier in the second verse, closed for my protection, open to your scorn. Between these two directions, my heart is sometimes torn. I think that is, I know definitely in a marriage, that is something that you're constantly trying to balance. And there's kind of that, I don't know, there's that part of you that you're always trying to overcome, that is thinking that the other person has some ill intent, alluded to there with the open to your scorn. And so phrasing it like that, when we close off, it's for our protection, because if we open up, the other person is just going to be so negative to us, and it's going to affect us. And so that we're trying to decide if we're going to be open or closed. And I think the way that it's phrased, it gets us to reflect, are we closing off because we feel dangerous, or are we closing off because we're scared of being vulnerable with someone that we do trust? Because there definitely is a difference. And being able to break out of that fear and be able to be open and vulnerable with someone who is safe, that's extremely important. And I just love all the things in this song that, like I've said before, this is just such a good illustration of this album being just like a collection of human nature essays.
Right. And then, so shifting away from the actual lyrics, just this album and this song in general, for me personally, to reflect, this album was my obsession in like winter of 2021. Yeah, so like the very beginning of 2021, this was like my album that I was obsessed with. Maybe like the end of 2020, but definitely like it was snowing during. I have a weird association with this album with snow, because at the time that I was obsessing over this album, we were living in Idaho, and my routine was I'd take you to work, and then every single day I went to the gym with the boys. Sometimes they had babysitting, but most of the time I had them with me. And so every single day, this is the album I turned on, because like I was just in a hold your fire mood for like months. And so I have like images in my mind when I listen to this song of me driving in the snow, which, that's just normal. It's not like driving in the snow. It wasn't that. I just meant like there was snow present. And so I'm driving and I like see the parking lot of the gym, and I like would just, especially this song for whatever reason, like I would just, sometimes I would listen to the whole album, but this song in particular, for whatever, I had like a kick on this song for a couple of weeks where I just like, every time I got in the car, this was the song that I turned on. And so like I was saying, like, listen to this song, I'm like taken back to like being in the car. It's really cold outside, there's snow, and I'm going to the gym. And like, that doesn't sound like anything interesting to anyone else. But in my mind, that was a very unique time in my life, because we had really barely just moved to Idaho. A huge life change. I just had a baby not long before, maybe like 9 months before or something. And so there was just a lot of tender feelings at that time anyways, because of moving and having a baby, our second baby, and just trying to figure out life. And like, you had a new job and there was just a lot going on. But then this song was just something that, like, it was like a comfort thing that I would just listen to every single day. And so then because of that, this song is one of my favorites and means a lot to me for all of the reasons I just said, as well as what it means in the lyrics and the awesome bass. And so this is one of my favorites. So that's my reflections in the reflective bracket on Open Secrets.
One is so funny because this album to me is highly associated with vacuuming.
Oh, and I love that. That's so random. I mean, not that random. We used to vacuum.
Yeah, like when
we vacuum, but
when I was a teenager.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. I didn't mean to sound like we don't vacuum. Like I meant like when you were a teenager, your mom would have you vacuum frequently.
Yeah, and so it would be, and yeah, my parents' house is very, very large, and
there's a lot of carpet.
And so vacuuming would take a long time, and so I'd throw on my headphones and I'd listen to Hold Your Fire, generally start to finish, to vacuum. And yeah, it was, and this song in particular, I just had, this is one of my favorite songs from this album. And as much as I love the bass, I think that Alex's guitar solo is the thing that does it for me with this song.
Mm-hmm. Get you in your feels.
It's so incredible and so expressive, and Alex does such a great job in everything that he does. But then, especially when it comes to these sorts of songs where a very, very deep mood has been set, and he's able to just take the stage and start off kind of with this blank canvas. Because as it leads into the guitar solo, this is the part. I find no absolution in my rational point of view. I could try to understand you. You could try to understand me. I could try to understand you. And then and then he overlaps Getty's fade out of the vocals and then swells in. And this is an excellent use of the vibrato arm, for a technical term, or the whammy bar, as it's called on the guitar.
That's so funny. I've never actually heard vibrato arm. Is people actually call it that? I don't
think anybody seriously calls it that.
Because I'm like the whammy bar,
I
right?
That's the technical term for it. But the whammy bar, he uses it so well. And just like the first part of it, before he breaks off into the high part of the solo where it gets a little faster, he's only fretting a couple different frets. Most of the note changes you're hearing is him bending the strings and using the whammy bar to just do these deep dives and pull up to just like make this surging sound. And then he's also using artificial harmonics, which is, if you aren't a guitar player, this is where you're still fretting the note, because the natural harmonic, if you remember from our episode where we were talking to Dennis and Vicky about the guitar, they talked about harmonics, this bell-like tone where you don't press down the string all the way, you lightly rest your finger on, you strum and pull away so that it just rings, but you've kind of half muted the full vibration of the string at a particular point on the string so that it rings out. And those are called natural harmonics. An artificial harmonic you can do with an acoustic guitar, but this is the squealy type screamy notes in an electric, overdriven, distorted guitar. And you're full fretting, and then you hold your pick such that when you strum, your thumb or part of your finger hits the note as well, and so it kind of mutes the vibration at the point of impact from the pick, and so it just creates this like explosion of the sound when you have all the effects on the guitar. And so Alex does this at a point to make this almost primal scream with the guitar. And so he's, in my mind, it's like he's putting the guitar through all the emotions that we feel when we're debating if we're going to open up or not.
Yeah.
And
that's what it feels like when you listen to it.
And it's just such an incredible moment in time. And like, as much as I love the guitar solo for Limelight, I think these two solos, the one in Limelight and the one in Open Secrets, I think they're fairly comparable as far as conveying the emotion of the song and of being such a great flowing, building guitar solo. But for me, Open Secrets is my preferred guitar solo over Limelight, just because it's such an emotionally raw guitar solo.
And then it finishes and it goes into Getty's O's of like, and then it goes back into the main theme again. It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Such a great arrangement of an incredible song.
So that was a lot on Open Secrets. Let's give some time for Bravado from Roll the Bones.
All right. Let me remember to turn my sound up.
Here we go.
And here we go. What blows me away about this every single time when I'm sitting down to actually listen to it is just how instantly you're in the moment. Just from beat one, you're just thrust right into the world of Bravado. Mm-hmm. And it's just such to me, it always feels like a stark landscape that you're just stuck in the middle of this. Wind's blowing, you're looking around, and this is at the moment of a movie where the hero is standing, all of his friends are gone, most of them dead, and just like it feels like all hope is lost, and this is the song in the soundtrack that's going on.
Man, that's a great picture to paint. So what I wanted to bring up about this song, first of all, was whenever I think of vibrato, oh my goodness. No. Okay. Whenever I think of Bravado, I actually think of you. No, not because of what it says in the song. It's because you told me that when you were serving your 2-year mission for our church back in, 2011 to 2012, right?
11 to 13.
11 to 13, sorry. Oh yeah, because it was the end of 2011. Yeah. Anyway. Wait, yeah, okay. Anyway, so while you were on your mission, you told me, not while you were on your mission. You told me, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm sorry. You told me later, after the fact, that while you were on your mission, you emailed your mom and told her to send you this song in particular, maybe another Rush song as well.
Yeah, a couple other ones. I believe Tyshawn was on there as well.
Oh, Tyshawn, yeah. I couldn't remember the other ones, but I know for a fact that this one was one of the tracks you specifically requested that your mom send to you so that you could listen to it. Why did you specifically request Bravado?
In all honesty, so when you serve a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you are making a commitment that this is going to be your whole focus for these 2 years. And
or 18 months for
the
sisters, for the girls.
And so, and it's not just knocking on people's doors and interrupting their lives like that. A lot of it is working with people who are genuinely interested in learning about the church, working with different congregations to help them in their ministry to each other, and there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. But you also commit to, because that is your primary focus, you commit to not listen to worldly music that's going to distract you from focusing on Christ. You're trying to live your life kind of outside of the world, and so it's very focused work for those 2 years. And at this point, I was in my second area. So generally, you're in an area. So it's split up into time periods of 6 weeks called transfers. And then every time you get to the end of a transfer, there's a possibility that you might get moved to another area with another companion. And you're with this other person 24/7 for that entire time. And that can be a lot as well. But I was in my second area. I had been in my first area for 6 months. I was in my second area, and normally what happens is you'll go into an area where there's someone who's been there already and they can show you the ropes. But for my second area, I went there with someone who also had never been there before. And so both of us are having to try to learn this area, try to make the connections with the people in the congregation we need to, try to make connections with people who have been interested in learning in the past, but have maybe fallen off because missionaries weren't keeping up with them. Whatever it is, there's a lot of work to do anyway, but then now it's compounded with, I have no idea, my companion has no idea what's going on. And I was just burning out, because also I was the companion who was in charge of like being the face of our companionship. But I was like very rigidly, I'm not going to be distracted by worldly things. And I kept getting this prompting, feeling like the Holy Spirit was pushing on me to request these songs. And I was like, well, this is Rush. Why would I? This is not church music. But then finally I'm like, okay, I'll just ask Mom for it. And she'll probably say no and she won't do it. And then she sends CDs with it on.
Your mom would never.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. But so I didn't know why it was that this song, because it wasn't even like my favorite song. Mm-hmm. And so but then as soon as I listened to it, it clicked. And I'm like, oh, that's why. Because the message of this song of being, and if love remains, though everything is lost, we will pay the price, but we will not count the cost. And that was the thing that I had been forgetting, is that the whole point was not to just get things done, not just worry about the intricacies of like paperwork and all that, but where was love in all of this? Was I serving my mission in such a way that if nothing that I wanted to happen happened, if I didn't teach a single person, was I still allowing love to remain. Was love my motivation? And so this song became a way for me to kind of check back and see if I was acting in the way that would actually make my time meaningful and not just be a drudge, and not be something that would then kind of wash over on other people of, oh, here's just this overbearing missionary trying to do missionary stuff. But hopefully I was able to be the kind of person that other people enjoyed being around, and even if they weren't interested in learning, that I didn't come across as being that pushy missionary that people always associate with the church. And so this song, it did a lot for me in changing my perspective of why I was out there, but then it's continued throughout my life to help me reflect on the fact that there are some things in this world that are more important than winning, and more important than just having a good appearance in the eyes of others. Are you genuinely being the kind of person that is showing love, so that if you do lose everything else, you at least don't lose that love. You don't lose the things that truly matter.
Thanks for sharing. I like getting more perspective on that, because I had known a little bit as to why you asked for it, but it was a good refresher on that and gives more perspective about the song as well. I've always liked this song, but especially liked the first line, "If we burn our wings flying too close to the sun." I can't explain. I just like them.
I just love that imagery too.
Yeah.
I love it when Neil references mythology, when he references these timeless stories, and just in such a simple way, so that it already conjures up the image. It already conjures up the trajectory that this song is going to take. Mm-hmm. And I think this is one of the most successful opening lines.
Yeah, I agree. And that is what, I like the way that the song starts anyways, but then once the first line hits, I'm always reminded, oh yeah, this is a good song. And I get excited to listening to it.
Neil's drumming is so excellent at that too, because, it starts out so wide and just like the thumping of the toms going, and just the beat pulls you in. And then as it gets closer to the start of the lyrics, he does just this wonderful surging hi-hat where he's like slowly opening up the hi-hat as he's doing it, so that it gives this surge, and then just like a shh, and then it pulls and he just goes on the kick drum as Geddy starts singing.
And on a note about the bass, that part, the very first line when it actually hits, the bass line's maybe the most simple bass line that Rush has. He's just hitting one note over and over and over, but it works because it's almost like, oh, it's a stillness, and now listen to what I'm about to say, and it like opens it up to focus on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and this is such a great building song. If you want to know how to build an arrangement, listen to this song, because it starts off so sparse.
They
have
sparse
such a great
is the right word.
Introduction that's full, and then they pull it back to have just this sparse feeling, and then they add in elements as they go. Neil, every single time it hits a new verse, he's adding in another element in his percussion arrangement. He's not just drumming in this song. He's this when I was talking with Junk Drummer TV, when we had that episode with him breaking down drumming, and he talks about Neil being the greatest composer for drums. This is one of those songs where it's extremely evident of what that is, because he could just have done the same beat every single time, but he's pulling in more rhythmic ideas. He's doing more to support the song so that by the time you get to the end, you've gone on this journey and you feel like the hero that this song is just full of.
Well, and we know that Rush hardly, probably never, does the same thing twice in their songs. Maybe a couple of moments in the entire discography, but really, if you actually listen, they hardly ever do the same thing twice per verse, per bridge, whatever it is. And then also, because the last 3 paragraphs of the lyrics, we have them in front of us, it's the same lyrics over and over. And so that has to change each time. They have to build, they have to make it interesting. Otherwise, it's just like, well, I can turn the song off now because it's over. And I almost did that earlier because we're like, okay, the next part's the same. We can just turn it off and start the episode now because we were listening to them beforehand. And you're like, no, because of what Neil does in the drums at the very end. You're like, you're right. I am so sorry. I was just like, let's get this show on the road because baby's sleeping and we don't know when he's going to wake up. But you're right. Like it changes every time and it adds every time. And then he does have this great drum thing at the very end. Yeah. So very good things in both of these tracks.
Yeah. Both of these songs, perfectly encapsulate what this bracket is all about. It, like I said before, it compels you to reflect if you're really listening to both these songs. Just the way that they are composed, the way that the lyrics pull you in, just excellent reflective songs.
I know my choice. Do you know yours?
No. What's your choice?
I choose Open Secrets because I also like Bravado, but I like the content more of Open Secrets as well as the bass, as well as what it means to me, as well as everything. So I choose Open Secrets.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I don't have to think about it. That's the one.
No, I was leaning more towards Open Secrets as well.
That's so funny. I thought for sure that you were going to choose Bravado.
No, my love of Hold Your Fire as an album and
the bones.
yeah, is so much. It's everything that I like about pop music, like in the sense of popular music versus classical music. Just these rich synth textures, the probing lyrics, the excellent bass line, superb atmospheric guitar, and obviously impeccable drumming.
Yeah.
But like, to me, Open Secrets is an excellent essay song.
Yeah.
And every single thing about the music of it supports the essay that Neil has written. And it's just so good. And the chord progression I love at the oh gosh. Well, I guess we all have these feelings we can't leave unreconciled. Do. Just the synth changes there.
I like,
so fun.
I used to sing that. We do a lot of random singing on this podcast. Well, there you have it. There you have it. Man, I am struggling with words this evening as we are recording this. When is, just asking the audience, they can't answer. But when is the last time you listened to Open Secrets? A lot of people probably say, I don't know, because they don't listen to it. So go listen to Open Secrets again, and Bravado as well. But as Open Secrets is the winner, go listen to it. Really listen to it.
Yeah. And it's so funny because the past couple of times, our decision has been so much longer because it's been so tough to decide. But obviously Bravado is such an excellent song. You heard how much we both love this song, but sometimes there's just such a clear winner to us, and this time it was Open Secrets.
Yeah.
I thought it was the guitar solo. Both these have excellent guitar solos, by the way. I love Alex's. I don't want to end this episode without talking about Bravado's guitar solo real quick, because it's so impressive that such a dynamic player as Alex will do a guitar solo like this in Bravado, where it's just so simple and it's so tamed, and yet it carries so much emotion still. So go listen to both of these guitar solos.
Yes. That was fun. Thank you for listening. Sorry for my blundering.
That's fun.
So that was awesome. Shall we announce the next pairing?
We shall. So next time that we battle out, we will be battling out Second Nature, also from Hold Your Fire, and The Way the Wind Blows from Snakes and Arrows.
All right. Until then, this is the Rush Discuss.